I love this comment we got from Bird Garden, a comment on one of our YouTube videos, who asked this. But seriously, can you resurrect a stagnant channel, or do you have to change your identity and start over? I hope, Bird Channel, we don't have to start over, because this is something we're working on ourselves here at Video Creators for personal reasons, which I'll share here in a little bit. I had to stop making videos, and I actually kind of stopped for a few years, and we're just now getting back into resurrecting our channel, the Video Creators YouTube channel. So how are we going to get back to doing millions of views per month after taking a break for a while, and maybe breaking a lot of things too in the process? Delana is here, one of the YouTube strategists on my team, and she's going to help me figure that out.
Welcome to the Video Creators Podcast. We help YouTube creators grow their audience and business with next-level tactics and strategies. Want to accelerate your channel's momentum, be more profitable, and change the lives of more people than ever before? You're in the right place. The Video Creators team has over a decade of experience providing YouTube strategy for brands like Disney, Warner Brothers, HBO, and even YouTube themselves. So far, our team is responsible for helping clients generate over 17 billion views on YouTube. And now, to help you, here's Tim, Lennon, and Delana.
Delana, is this going to turn into another YouTube therapy session for me here?
It might just. I'm
Do you have
open
any
to
credentials?
it. Nope.
Yes, you do. You have lots of credentials for
I
YouTube
am
therapy.
a YouTube strategist. I am a YouTube strategy. I am not a therapist, but I have gone through lots of therapy, so I have at least that knowledge.
Yeah, me too. It would be interesting to do. It would be to add up how many views your clients have generated with you personally versus, because I know for the company business wide, last time we checked, which was like a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years ago, we're at like 18 billion views that we could take credit for with our clients. But I'm sure you're overly qualified for this. But before we dive into all that, Delana, what's new with you? What's going on in the Delana Hunt Hut?
The Hunt Hut is great. We have a new cat. I don't think I've shared that on the podcast yet.
I think you say that every other week.
Maybe.
No?
It
like
does
you have
feel like
lots of
that,
new
doesn't
cats.
it? Yeah, but I do have a new cat. Her name is Parsley. I don't know why we keep naming our cats after food. We've got nutmeg, coconut, and parsley. But apparently it's the way. It's the way. It's just what feels right. So,
if you had my little kids over there, they would be like, I can lick that thing? You'd be like, no. Back off, kids. Yeah.
You don't want to do that. And then the other thing is that I don't know when the last episode we recorded is going to get posted, but I think it gets posted before this one. And in that, I talked about how I am not creating content, but actually I am, guys, now.
Oh, you are?
I not on YouTube. Well, yes, on YouTube, but on a podcast. We started a podcast. So,
what's it called?
Yes, it's called. Oh, do I want to share it? Oh, I feel like
You don't have to. We could do a therapy session with Tim sometime, and then you can decide podcast therapy.
Okay. I don't know if I want to share it yet because it's all very new. Well, I put myself on the spot, to be fair, but It's all very new, so I don't want to feel like there are a bunch of eyes on it yet, even though that's half the point. I just want to feel like I could, be myself for a while. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Very
good.
exciting.
I'm excited to hear more about that myself now. Yeah, because I have a personal podcast. I will share mine. It's called the Business Family Marriage Podcast. And that's just more like here I talk about YouTube stuff, but I have so many other thoughts around marriage and family and business, especially like how those three things impact each other. Like the business impacts the family, and the marriage impacts the business, and all those things kind of go together. So I find it's good to have kind of like just a personal expression type of thing where you can just process out loud and have an excuse to talk to cool people and things like that. So
Yeah.
Cool. Well, for me, as weather's getting nicer here, sorry for my Australian friends where it's getting colder, but here in the United States, it's getting warmer and days are getting longer. And we're starting to get, we got 56 new chickens now. They're a couple weeks old. So we've got.
See, I always have new cats. You always have new chickens.
I know. Yeah. We eat our chicken though.
Oh,
There's
God.
a little difference. I know. That took a hard left turn, didn't it?
Yeah. It got really morbid really fast.
Yeah.
Only because I thought about eating my cats, and that was just
that was yeah. It's just bad. we do it just because it's like more humane for the chickens than the alternative, and it's way cheaper, much healthier. They live a good life. My kids learn a lot. I remember I was at Chick-fil-A and I heard this girl like, "Dad, did you know that chicken is a food and an animal?" And I just was like, "Oh no!" I just want to do a face palm. Like, that's okay. Well, my kids don't make that mistake. So, yeah, it's just a good opportunity. A lot of growth stuff for us there, but it's a lot of fun. So we've got that going on here, and it's also cool that now my kids are getting a little bit bigger and older. They're starting to do more chores, like mowing the lawn for us. And not only that, when it's the first time to mow the lawn, they want to mow the lawn. And I'm trying to take advantage of that while I can. They're like, "Dad, it's my turn. I want to mow the lawn now." I'm like, "Sure, go." Do it. No, they're safe. We've trained them properly, and my wife or I are out there while they're doing it, so we're not just like leaving them on their own. But yeah, I think it's good for kids to do stuff like that. And so that's what's going on here at the Schmoyer Foyer. Nice.
Yeah, very exciting. The kids, I'm still laughing about that. Chicken is a food and an animal?
I know. You're like, we are so disconnected from where our food comes from.
It's true, though.
For this week's Creator Spotlight, I want to introduce you to Robin. I recently did a 1-hour YouTube channel consultation with her and talked a lot about next steps for her growth. But one of the things I really liked about her story as we were talking is how she's pivoted several times on her channel and did so successfully. I know for a lot of us, pivoting is something that feels really scary, feels really unknown. Is this all going to tank? But you know that what you're doing isn't working. And so should you pivot? And then in terms of our conversation, she's actually pivoting again. So like most people, isn't that a recipe for creating a dead channel? And for creating a channel you will one day have to resurrect? Not necessarily. Robin, in our interview here, shares how she pivoted and the impact it's had on her channel. Robin, so fun hanging out with you here for the past hour, talking about your channel. Tell us about what you are doing on YouTube.
Well, on my channel, I have it's all about people minimizing all of the excess in their lives. And I really want to encourage people to have more time with their family, have more time to relax without all of that chaos dragging them down.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know my wife watched a little of your channel, as I told you before, we did our session together, and she was like, "This is definitely needed. Like moms need this." And I know for my wife, we have 7 kids, so this is definitely reducing chaos is a really big deal. One of the things that's been interesting about your channel is you started off as a gardening channel, and you've pivoted to talking about helping moms reduce chaos, which right now focuses on cleaning. For other creators out there who are thinking about pivoting and going a different direction with their content, tell us how you did that from going from gardening to cleaning and what that process looked like and what results you kind of got from it.
Well, first I had to make the decision, and I just sort of knew that this was what was best for me personally. I didn't want to have my gardening impacted by YouTube creation anymore. So I then decided I was going to sort of pivot into home minimalism. And I thought one of the best ways would be to sort of jump on a known thing, which was at the time a cleaning Instagram channel. And so I started doing some reviews of some of their videos and managed to attract some viewers that way, which was really helpful, and slowly did that and would do the odd sort of decluttering, minimizing video until I sort of phased out the cleaning and just did the minimizing and minimalism.
Did you lose all the gardening people along the way, or how many would you say percentage wise followed you through the transition?
It's hard to say because I probably didn't have, I think I had hit 1,000 subscribers about a month before I made that transition. So and then I experienced growth after that. So I probably lost all of them.
All of them. Okay. You're like, see ya. I'm going over here now.
It's hard to say though. Some of them were men. And so I think I've lost pretty much all of the men, but I've managed to keep some of the ladies on, I think.
Cool. And as a result of our conversation here, in terms of helping you figure out next steps and growth for your channel, we talked a little bit about, I don't know if pivot, that sounds like too strong of a word. Maybe just a new focus, new direction. Maybe tell us a little bit about where you are now, and then what you think you need, what your next steps are to really grow this in the future in terms of what that direction might look like.
I think that it's broadening, but not in the sense of like where you should be niching down more and more, but will be connecting more with my audience on more of the things that they are struggling with, instead of just dealing with the clutter and mess in their house, where we will actually be getting into more of like the other issues of their life that feel chaotic, where they can actually like declutter or not just declutter, but they can minimize like commitments and just sort of creating systems that flow better. So I think that the strategy will be to pretty much just sort of, again, slowly do that, like start talking more about chaos and removing chaos, and maybe doing a video that's not quite as declutter related, but more, I have recently in my Facebook group, we did a challenge on decluttering the pantry. So maybe we'll do I've had a lot of people wanting to do one on meal planning. So maybe that will be a good, like kind of natural transition video for the next month.
I worked with a creator a couple weeks ago. They do all their meal planning once a year. And then they preserve, they cook all their food for like 2 weeks and then preserve it. They freeze dry it. And then all their food for the year is like on the pantry. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is meal planning like to the extreme. But I think what I like what you're saying is, and this is common because a lot of creators who are educators on YouTube, they tend to focus on the what I do, and they sometimes, instead of on the why it matters to the viewer. And what you're saying is like, hey, we're not going to just focus just on cleaning now. We're going to on the broader thing, which is like just helping women feel like their life is like not chaotic, and that there's order, and that they can live their life and feel relaxed in their own home and in their schedules. And that's a much broader thing. So when people say niche down, I think the reason that works sometimes for people is because the more specific they get, the clearer the brand becomes to a first-time viewer. And that person feels like, oh my gosh, this is exactly for me, because it's so specific, right? But we can accomplish that same thing of like, oh my gosh, this is for me, just by adding clarity to the emotion thing that we're tapping into, so that people are like, I feel that way too, as opposed to just like kind of digging ourselves so niche down that there's literally only 10 people in the world who care about this thing anymore, right? So that pivot to tap into the emotions of the thing that your viewer actually wants, instead of just the solution that gets them what they want, is, I think, can be really, really powerful for you and your channel. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I have one big question for you though before I let you go. Okay. All right. Because you are a member of the Podience.
Yes.
You listen to the episodes.
Yes.
Podience or no Podience?
Every time you say that, I'm always like,
Which side are you on?
It definitely makes me, as a mom, it does take me back to those days in the washroom with the kids. So, but as a mom, it takes me back to those days with the kids. So I don't know.
You can be honest. Would you be like, no, Tim, just cut it out? Or you're like,
I think I wouldn't be done brainstorming just yet.
Okay. That's a very diplomatic way of putting it. So I hear, I'm reading between the lines there. So I get it. Yeah. Well, thank you for your input here. I think I'm just like keeping the tension between is you going to keep it or drop it and just never doing either, and keeping people else wondering. Yes, sir. Yeah. Well, thank you for hanging out here. And if you guys want to check out her channel, there's a link to it in the show notes. Definitely go check it out and watch her as she pivots her brand to not being just about the things she does, but about the thing her audience actually wants and the emotion that it makes them feel. So go check that out, watch her journey, and follow along. Delana, I think that makes it official. Robin said so. My personal assistant, executive assistant here, Caitlin said so a few episodes ago.
Oh, no.
No more Podience. I think we're just going to have to go with Pod Squad, which was Caitlin's suggestion. She came out right at the top of her head. I'm like, oh, that's good. Pod Squad.
Wow.
Are you a fan of Pod Squad?
I like Pod Squad. That's fun. Yeah.
Okay.
And doesn't have to be so divisive.
I kind of like the divisive nature of Podience. That's kind of the point. It kind of became the point, but yeah, we'll let it to rest. No more Podience. And those of you guys who do think of yourself as part of the Podience with great pleasure, I'm sorry. We're going to switch to Pod Squad. So Pod Squad, it is now, but for the rest, that's so weird. But yeah, for those of you who are in the Pod Squad and want to sit down and do a 1-hour consultation with us yourself, you can go to videocreators.com/consulting and book a session, whether it be on my calendar or one of the strategists on our team's calendar. And we will look at your channel ahead of time. We'll look at the notes you leave us ahead of time. We will dig into your channel and come prepared, ready to dive in and help you take the next steps you need with your channel. Whether it's you're like Robin and pivoting again and trying to make some decisions on which way she goes, like without narrowing the audience so much that she no longer has any viewership. There's other ways we can do that, like we explained with Robin, or maybe you have a different challenge or different goal or thing or struggle that you have on YouTube. It's all custom to whatever you need in that hour. So go videocreators.com/consulting and schedule your hour session with us. We're looking forward to meeting you and talking with you about how you can win at YouTube next. All right, Delana, dead channels, resurrecting them, performing miracles on YouTube. That's what you're going to do for me here. Okay,
rising
no
from the dead.
That's right. Yeah. So let's pretend I'm a client of yours, and you're just meeting me for the first time. It's our first introductory call. And the reason I'm signing up to be a client with you is or with Video Creators, but me with you here is I just want to hear what you would say after hearing my story. And then we'll talk about some practical next steps of what we're doing to resurrect our channel. But first of all, my story and how we got to where we are here. After making about 4,500 videos across 9 different channels across, 2006. So over a decade now, I just got burned out and tired.
Yep.
And it wasn't like I didn't really enjoy it. I kind of did, but and it was working for us in terms of growing the business and the channel. But I just got to this point where something had to give. And I knew something had to give because I woke up one night with this sharp pain in my stomach that felt like it was clamping down on a double-edged knife, and almost went to the emergency room. But after going to the doctor later and starting to see a therapist at that time too, they're like, this is stress related, Tim. You just got to chill. You got to back off. And so the thing that made the most sense to back off of was YouTube content, because at that time the business was growing. It was doubling year over year. If you think back, take yourself out of your client shoes now and think back to that time with me, because you were here a part of that. We were doubling year over year. We were we had no capacity for clients. We had this long waiting list, people out 6 months in advance, and who were paying in full, just to wait for their turn and things. Right. And okay, so now you can go back into your.
I don't even have to take myself out of client shoes to remember that because I was I was talking with those people that were waiting. Yeah.
I didn't have any business development background. My background is in theology and youth ministry. nothing super practical unless you work at a church or something like useful. So I was learning all these new skills in managing a team and hiring and training. And it was a lot to keep up with. At the same time, my wife and I were going through a bunch of stuff and our relationship, which thankfully is behind us now. But at that time that was weighing on me as well. And so my body just kind of shut down. And so that something had to give.
Yeah.
And the thing that I decided had to give was like, I'm not going to make YouTube videos for a while. And I didn't know how long that was going to be, but here we are. What is that? A year and a half ago, I think it was something about almost 2 years, something like that is when that happened. And so here we are, and I'm in a much better, healthier place with my relationship with work and business and personal relationships and everything are like in a much stronger, healthier place. And I've learned how to do this thing I thought was really weird called self-care and like having time for myself to do things I enjoy. In fact, kind of parenthetically here, Delina, in our team meeting yesterday, you told me that the Nintendo Switch was your favorite gaming platform, and you said I should get one. So I'm getting one off Facebook Marketplace later tonight. So, and I still have all the tabs open in the games you recommended, even though I've been a diehard Xbox person. I'm just like I just need something that's a little bit more mobile that I can just play on the go and not have to like sit down and I need 3 hours in order to make some progress in a game. So
yes, I was diehard Xbox before as well, but Nintendo Switch is it's the best gaming system ever.
Yeah. Well, to put this in perspective for you guys, this time 2 years ago, I would have felt extremely guilty. And I did, because this is a true story. When I started, like self-care for me to just get started was sitting down at the end of the night with a sugar-free Zevia soda. And all I could think about was, this thing cost me $1. Why should I be drinking this right now? Not that I was like super that tight. It was more, to be totally honest, of like, I don't deserve this.
Yeah.
Like that was more the place. It wasn't, I'm not like penny pinching and dollar sensitive about things on that level. It was more like, I'm doing something for me. And I'm like, I'm spending $1 on me right now. Like it felt really uncomfortable for me to do that. And now here I am, spending $300 on a Nintendo Switch. Yeah. So,
so did you get Breath of the Wild?
Well, I haven't got any games yet for it. So that'll be next. Yeah. I'm spending my blow money on it. But Dana and I get $50 a month in blow money. And so I've saved mine. And so now I've got enough money to go do it. So that's why I'll get the console. Then I got to wait another month to get a game for it. But yeah. So anyway, So that's kind of the story of like got me to where we are here. And now we are a much better, healthier place, and looking at the YouTube channel again, being like, you know what, we need to get back to that. And, but our business is a much different spot too. Now we have multiple strategists. We have you, me, Sam onboarding, and Ingrid, and we've got we got producers, we've got like admins, we got like this whole team of people. So we got more complexity than we did. Anyway, that's my story. I want to get back into this. Help me out here.
Okay. Oh, that's a place to start. Okay. I'm not quite sure what angle to come from there. So,
well, I want to get back into making new videos, and I want to start growing the channel again. And right now is dead. There's like 560 some thousand subscribers on it, something like that. I mean, it looked for a long time. And we were doing millions of views a month. Now we're doing like 100 some thousand views a month just from some of the content that's still there. But I want to get back to where we were, the type of attention that we used to get on the channel.
Yeah. Well, first thing I want to say is that I think that you did the right thing, because just by taking a break, even though it's been, coming back into it, there's probably some feelings of like, what did I do? Did I kind of crash and burn this thing? Stuff like that I've from neglecting it for too long. But I think that it is absolutely the right thing to do whenever, especially given everything that you were going through personally. But also just, I think it's really, really important in order to serve people well that you have to like be able to come and be 100%, and have that creativity and that passion when things are pulling you in a different direction. Sometimes things just have to give. So I actually think that that was the best thing that you could have done for your channel in the long run.
Yeah. Well, for me personally too, like looking back, I wouldn't change it. Even if my YouTube channel completely disappeared and never resurrected, like, it was still the thing I needed to do for myself and my family and even the business at that time. So it was the right choice. But now we've got a little bit of an uphill battle. Not uphill battle. That's not really the word. It's not violent. It's just like a little bit of an uphill.
Yeah. A little extra work
on the climb. Yeah.
So then the other thing that I would want to say is I think that it's going to be really, really important that you come into it focusing only on highly discoverable content. So I think it would actually be a better idea to kind of do a slow ease into it rather than trying to go like, okay, we're just going to start posting 2 to 3 times a week, get as much content out. Let's get people engaged again. I do think that that's important. We need to get people engaged again. But whenever you've been out for so long, and I know that you personally have posted a few community videos in between, there's probably this point where a lot of viewers have skipped over a lot of the content if they're not engaging in the community content or anything like that. So I would say you should only focus on doing some really highly discoverable content and don't try to throw yourself in like full force and try to do everything exactly how you used to do it beforehand, just right off the bat. I think there's going to be a lot of shifting that needs to happen. You need to give yourself space to figure out that process, jumping back into it.
One of the things that's felt weird for me is just getting back into a rhythm of shooting content again.
Exactly. Yep.
So like the first thing I feel like we're starting with here is like, our goal right now isn't to make a big splash. It's like, can we just get back into the rhythm of making videos again? Because there's new people here, and we have a bigger team and things, and the channel needs to accomplish something different. Back years ago, it was the thing it was accomplishing was making Tim look good as a YouTube expert and someone people wanted to work with. But the problem that led to was people only wanted to work with me, not as much people on the team. So going forward, I don't want to bump into that situation again. So we've got to make sure that people like you are here, and Sam and Ingrid and other future strategists as they join our team, that people are getting to know them as well, being like, okay, yeah, Tim's cool, but I actually really like Ingrid, like, or something. And so I think for us first to start, like, let's create a new goal. And the goal is right now is get back into the rhythm of creating videos, because that's a more complex system now, a process than it used to, since we're trying to get multiple people on the channel and exposure rather than just Tim. So that was the first thing. And then, then the second thing I think we're doing is like creating a new strategy, focusing on discoverable videos. Do you want to explain a little bit more what that means? Because you mentioned that. Yeah. But for someone who's like, isn't every video supposed to be discovered?
No. So we typically break a content strategy down by, outside of just video topics, we break a content strategy down by discoverable videos, community videos, and sales videos. Discoverable videos are intended to be discoverable, to reach new audiences, not just to engage our existing loyal audience, but to reach outside of them and reach audiences that we haven't reached before. Bring them in, hopefully turn them into subscribers, or at least just regular viewers, things like that. And then community content is any video that's specifically designed just to engage your loyal viewers, the ones that already know, like, and trust you. And maybe we just want to build a deeper relationship with them, get them more invested, more connected to us on a personal level. So it would be like the video that you shared about, life after burnout, I think is what it was called.
Yep. So I should put that in the show notes, that video. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a perfect example of a community video. It's just letting people know you on a more personal level. And then there's sales videos, which is any video that's specifically designed to send a viewer off of the platform, not even necessarily to sell a product. It could just be to build an email list, get more lead magnets, or, have a space to share your lead magnets, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be just directly selling a product. And those videos can look just like a discoverable or a community video, but that you're just changing the call to action at the end so that you're calling them to the lead magnet or the product that you want to sell. Whenever I say that I think that you need to come in just focusing on discoverable content, I think that whenever it comes to resurrecting a channel and getting back to that millions of views a month that you talked about, it's better to come in with, you've already posted some community content in between, so that's relatively covered. We've kept a little bit of warmth in our loyal audience. So let's just focus on reaching new audiences.
Yeah.
Especially as a business owner, the goal that you have on the platform is not just to get views, but to bring people into your business. And so to reach new people that will funnel into the business, discoverable content is where it starts.
Yeah. Yeah. So these podcast episodes, we've been publishing these on YouTube for a little while. So there's been something going on there, but it's really just engaging the same people over and over again. It's not really getting new people here because it's a pretty, these episodes are pretty dense for a first time viewer on YouTube, as opposed to making something a little shorter, a little bit more consumable, a little more visual, and focusing more on those videos that would be discovered and consumed by a first time viewer who hasn't heard of us yet. So, well, sounds like, Delana, you're saying, okay, 1, create a new goal, which for us is just getting back in the rhythm of creating new videos. Number 2, create a new strategy, which for us is focusing on discoverable videos. What would you recommend I do next?
I think that as you get into this, first of all, before you even start, I think you're going to need to measure it to make sure that you're going in the right direction, and you're going towards the results that you want. Because especially at the beginning, that needle moving is going to be a really small needle. So you need to, make sure that you're measuring it so that you know that you're heading in the right direction before you reach the tipping point and it all comes flooding in, right? And so I always explain it as like the early signs. These are the early signs that we're moving in the right direction. We're making the right moves and people are responding well and that the content's going to perform. So what I would do is just, first of all, benchmark your average results right now of what you get on a channel level, what you get on an upload level, if you have recent uploads to go off of, things like that, average views, watch time, click-through rates, impressions, everything in between. And then you have a great starting point. You've got that, you've set up your measuring stick, right? And now you can go in and start tracking forward progress. So right now we're doing it on a weekly basis. I think a weekly basis is great to do, and especially do it on a monthly basis because as content performs, like a lot of content doesn't get its best traction within the first day or even week of being posted. And so especially on a monthly basis, make sure that you're going in and you're calculating all of the average views and watch time and things that you got on your content over the past 30 days in order to better measure that forward progress, make sure that you're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, this has been good for me. What we've been doing here at Video Creators is there's a lady named Molly on our team who every week gets into the channel and pulls the stats and puts them into a spreadsheet, which puts them into a nice little chart and graph, as we can see how are these things moving? How's the needle moving on these things? And one thing that I think is important for you guys to make sure you're doing is not to look at the overview stats of like the past 29 or 28 days by default all the time, because that's also taking into account videos you published 3 years ago and 4 years ago. So we're just looking at in your advanced analytics, click on the drop down filter there and use publish date and only look at videos we've published, say this month so far, or since last week or something. And so you're not taking your numbers aren't being inflated by content that you've published before. We just want to separate out all those older videos and just look at the new content strategy we're executing to see if that is working. So the overview stuff where most people stop can kind of create some
it can make your channel
about what's going on.
Yeah, it can make your channel sometimes look worse than what it's actually doing. Like you could be moving in the right direction and you have one top performer that you posted 5 years ago that is, lost its traction that month, and then it all of a sudden looks like your channel's dying because it's not bringing in the 200,000 views that month that it typically brings in. And so that's why doing things like the publish date is really important, because it can also work in the other direction of that one video that you posted 5 years ago could be having an influx in traffic and get 500,000 views that month. And it's just coming from that one video, but it makes it look like, oh, wow, everything that we're doing right now is working.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not.
It's just that one video.
Yeah, it's just that one video.
Yeah. One thing about this too is that it's kind of made me feel like I can kind of just do whatever I want, in the sense of like, I think this is a good idea. Let's try it. But there's not much at stake if it doesn't work well at this point. Right.
Yeah.
Like it might not get a whole lot of views and be like, okay, cool. I learned something there, as opposed to doing something that you have let's say you had a really big engaged audience on YouTube and I do something and it didn't engage. I'm like, now I'm making these mistakes in front of a lot more people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of,
and I think that the thing there is that a lot of creators feel like they're going to break their channel if they do that. Like they have to keep the same amount of traction every single video in order for their channel not to die.
Every video has to get more views than the one before. Yeah.
Yes. No. And just, side note, guys, it's not true. You can have a video totally tank and then the next video will be perfectly fine. I promise.
It does. Yeah. All right, cool. Number 4, what do we do?
Number 4, coming back into it, there's going to be a lot of things that are not going to go well. And so I think that you should just come into this with a lot of grace for yourself and everybody involved and just be like, things are not going to go perfectly. There's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be hiccups, and we're going to have to work through each one of those. And so I think that you should come into this fully expecting that whenever a hiccup comes, cool, that's the way that this is supposed to go. So what do we need to do?
Yeah, because if there aren't any hiccups, I'm like, wait a minute, something's wrong.
What's going wrong here? Yes.
There should be more issues than they are. Yeah, for us, I already kind of mentioned it, but one of the main ones we're bumping into is how do we make content with potentially 4 hosts and a producer managing a lot of this process and trying to all the communication, getting the content we need from people all the right time, and working with our video editor and her team. And there's a lot of hands that go on one of these right now.
Yeah.
So we're kind of like, all right, well, is the process holding us back? Do we just need to simplify this in some way? And if so, how? What does that look like? And I think we've gotten to some good places in our team meeting yesterday about some of those things.
Yeah. And even, team members that just have different responsibilities that they're trying to juggle that make it hard. I think that all of those things together, it's like, all right, how do we make this as smooth as possible and be as consistent as possible for our audience? But whenever we say consistent, I think we more so, especially at the beginning, the consistency needs to be the quality and not necessarily posting every single week. Right now, we should be filming all the time, filming as often as possible, but not necessarily posting as often as possible. Well, as often as possible, but not necessarily consistently. As often as possible might mean every other week right now, and that's where I think a lot of that grace and leeway you need to give yourself whenever you're coming back into such a big project. Hi, I waved.
So, doing Yeah, for us, the problems are related to process and trying to simplify it. But for other people, the hiccup might be my camera doesn't work anymore, or the batteries die really fast, or it could be geared equipment related. It could be the hiccups of like, I'm trying this one strategy and it's just not working, or the series is not performing the way, okay, well, I got to start all over again and come up with a different series or different, so there's hiccups for all of us.
Yeah.
It's not just like we're just kind of sharing with you guys ours. And that feels like the biggest one right now, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get into content hiccups here after we figure out the process.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
For
Anything
sure.
else?
I think just, given that we talked about hiccups and stuff like that, I think it's really, really easy to let those things get deflated, which is why let yourself get deflated. Which is why I say go in expecting that. Like if you go in like all hyped up, hey, oh my gosh, this is going to be great. We're going to be getting back into creating content, and you should be excited about it, but not to the point where you're like, oh my gosh, everything's going to be perfect and amazing. And so go in expecting it, because whenever you hit those hiccups, you have to keep going, especially whenever it comes to, you just mentioned, maybe somebody created a content strategy. They had an idea of like a series or something that they wanted to do that they felt like their audience was going to respond really well to. It was going to be highly discoverable. Then they start doing it. Lo and behold, it just doesn't perform the way that you really thought it was going to perform, and you need to pivot. Cool. That's exactly a hiccup that we expected. So we're going to keep going. And that's what I feel like is most important. Don't let those hiccups as they come along deflate you. You're going in and you're committed to, I'm going to keep going with all of the hiccups and the bumps and the pivots that we need to make along the way, and getting this process started again and getting content out that our audience hopefully responds to, and if they don't, cool, then we pivot and we keep going.
I kind of feel like what you're saying here, Delana, is like basically just kind of have the same attitude as if you were creating a brand new channel from scratch. Like you got to have the goal, you got to have the strategy, then you got to measure it, then you got to work through the hiccups, and then you got to keep going. It's the same process. So is there any difference in starting a brand new channel from scratch versus resurrecting a dead channel?
I feel like in some ways it's more fun that way, because you have a little bit of audience there to respond to already. The only thing that also comes along with that is whenever you're coming in and you're kind of treating your channel like it's a brand new channel, is that sometimes you get feedback that you don't really, they're like, I don't like that you did this style of video or whatever. And that's not as fun to hear. But remember that your goal, whenever you're coming back, assuming that your goal is to reach new audiences, I talk with this to my clients all the time, is that anytime you change something on a channel, somebody's going to say something negative about it. And so
even if you don't change anything, they still, so it's like,
that is true.
You can't win.
Especially if you change something. Yeah. Oh yeah. Cause people will say like, oh, you just do the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you change something and people are like, I don't like the change, So always, usually the first thing that whenever a creator is changing something, they're hypersensitive to that negative feedback. And it's like all they see. And so I would say that's probably one of the main differences between having actually a brand new channel and then having kind of a brand new channel. You're treating your channel like a brand new channel, is that there's going to be that feedback that comes in, sometimes positive, sometimes negative, whenever we're trying new things. And don't get hyper focused on the negative. Believe in the thing that you strategized for a while until you have the data to prove it otherwise. Don't just go based off of what people are saying. Yeah.
So would you say that it's usually better to resurrect a dead channel versus just starting another one all over from scratch? Is there a time when we should start a new one from scratch?
If you have a different value for a different audience, then you need a new channel.
But what if the channel is like, I'm resurrecting it and I haven't made videos there for years anyway? So should I just pick up where I left off and go a different direction?
Like in terms of targeting somebody else?
Yeah, like let's say I have 500,000 subscribers on this channel, and it's been a few years since I published, but now I want to get back to it, and I don't really want to do the same thing I was doing before. Should I just pick up kind of like with the dead channel and start doing new content, different content on it, or should I at that point just let that one die and go create a new channel and start over? A variation of this question I hear sometimes is, well, should I just start a new channel versus resurrect my old channel? And I'm like, well, if you haven't published for a few years, you might as well just keep the people who want to move on with you to the new thing and not create a new channel. And usually people are like, yeah, but won't the algorithm like penalize me because they see I have all these subscribers, but I'm not getting these views from those subscribers? Like, and wouldn't a new channel perform better in the algorithm than an old channel? I'm like, absolutely not. They don't care. They're all they're looking at is how the people who watch it respond to it. And it doesn't matter which channel it's on, whether it's an older channel or a newer channel. So I'm usually like, if you got something on some sort of audience on an older channel, you might as well just use it. Maybe make a quick, like 1 or 2, 3-minute video with no cuts, no edits, just a one take saying like, hey guys, I'm back. Got this new vision for what I want to do here. If you're down for it, let's go. Not like unsubscribe, no hard feelings, something like that. And then start doing your thing. So I think you can certainly use an older channel if you just communicate it is what it is. And you'll see a lot of unsubscribes probably happening for the next few months after that, depending on how often you publish. But that's to be expected. Let them kind of go their way and then you do your thing. Every week, we're going to wrap up our episodes with a power tip, something you can do and use on your channel going forward. This is another one of those tips that'll help you consume YouTube better. Delaney, I don't know if you ever bumped into this, but sometimes depending on which account I'm on, whether on my phone especially, I don't want to go look at the content because if I look at it on the account, I have an account on YouTube where it's just what I browse YouTube under. It's like when I actually want to watch. But then whenever I'm doing like client work, I switch to the video creators account because the suggestions there are totally just random and messed up based on whichever client we were working with last, right? But I don't want to always switch accounts on my phone. It's kind of cumbersome. Well, did you know, and maybe you did, but I didn't know this, just haven't used it that much, is if you want to watch some content or need to do some research on something, and you don't want to muddy up your recommendations, what you can do is on mobile, it has an incognito mode that you can enable by tapping on your profile picture in the top right corner of the main home screen. And then like right beneath that, there's an option there that says like turn on incognito. And incognito works exactly how you probably expect it to work. Your viewing history won't be stored. The videos you watch won't interfere with your recommendations. And then you can tap the incognito button at the top right, again, to turn it off. So there's not a similar option on the web, but you can just use a browser incognito mode if you want. And it's a lot easier to switch accounts on the web too. Mm-hmm. But on mobile, if you're like, okay, just like if I'm out and I need to fix my lawnmower and I don't want all my recommendations to now be like lawnmower videos, just turn on incognito mode, do your search about the lawnmower, get the thing fixed. You're like, okay, got it. And then turn it off and your recommendations will stay intact. Right.
Yes.
So there you go. Little tip, little hack for you guys. Not a hack, just a feature.
I had noticed that on the mobile app recently and I haven't used it yet because I don't have kids. I don't really have a reason to use it unless I'm like trying to research something I'm going to buy as a gift for my husband. But but I did notice that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, especially when I'm only looking at something right now and I don't want to be recommended this stuff later. Like last Sunday, I have we have electric fence that keeps some of our animals penned in and safe. And so I have a solar panel charger for that fence and was looking to see how to fix it. And I don't want to see, I knew as soon as I start searching for this and watching a whole bunch of these videos, now I'm no longer going to see the content I want to watch. And it's going to be solar powered fence chargers. I'm like, no, don't show that to me. So I just go in incognito mode. I watch those videos there, get what I need, and then back out. So that's how I use it. Cool. Well, thank you guys for hanging out for another Video Creators Podcast episode. If you wouldn't mind, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It really does help us out. 5 stars would be great, but please, honesty is more important. So I've been checking those out lately, and they really do help our the Pod Squad grow and get to become more people. So thank you for helping us out, and we'll see you guys again next week for another Video Creators Podcast episode. See you guys then.